The Absolute Universe was engineered to stop heroes before they ever rise. Governments, corporations, media, even emergency response systems are controlled by the same ruling elite. At the centre of that web stands Jack Grimm, the Joker, a man who understands that chaos is the fuel that keeps the system running. And here, Gotham City is his playground. To take more control, Grimm orchestrates riots and mass violence, pushing Gotham into martial law. In the aftermath of the chaos, he unveiled Ark M, on the surface a secretive new facility, but in reality it's a subterranean torture labyrinth. While there are doctors working there, Ark M is not a hospital, it is an industrial facility of transformation. Human beings are not treated there, they're warped, and Bruce Wayne learned that the hard way. In this universe, Bruce didn't grow up in luxury, he grew up on the streets alongside children who would, in another world, become his rogues gallery. Harvey Dent, Waylon Jones, Edward Nygma, Oswald Cobblepot and Selina Kyle. Here, they are his closest friends, and that made them targets. Waylon was taken first, dragged to Ark M and experimented on until he was barely recognisable. When Bruce tried to rescue him, he was captured by Bane, Ark M's enforcer, and subjected to months of torture. Bruce escaped, but the retaliation was swift. His friends were brutalised, altered, and reshaped into monstrous versions of themselves. Sure, Batman avenged his friends by beating Bane to a pulp, but it wouldn't undo the damage that had been done. Similarly, the Joker wouldn't tolerate this abuse. The Absolute Ark M Special made one thing painfully clear: the facility was only beginning its work. Joker's experiments were widespread and involved familiar names: Hugo Strange, Jervis Tetch, Basil Carlo. By the issue's end, it was abundantly clear that Grimm doesn't just create monsters, he weaponizes them. Meanwhile, Bruce had realised he cannot fight a system this vast alone. In his recent encounter with Wonder Woman, he found an ally. Their partnership was cautious but genuine. Information was shared, trust was extended, and she even helped him find a mystical potential cure for Waylon's mutation. But Joker noticed this cooperation, and this has escalated his plans. In response, he's begun unleashing his own allies. The denizens of Ark M, people that had been engineered, empowered, and are ideologically aligned with the elites, are being released back into Gotham one by one. Up first is Poison Ivy. But before I get to her, it's important to check in with some of the supporting cast. After Batman's adventure with Wonder Woman last issue, he left a potential cure for Croc in the sewers, but when he went down there to see if it had worked, all he found was Croc's shedded skin. He notes that reptiles tend to shed their skin when they're getting bigger, so perhaps this solution didn't quite work out as planned. Regardless, there's no sign of Croc down there. Similarly, his other friends are avoiding him too. Oz has holed himself up in the Iceberg Lounge, and he tells his cronies to kick the crap out of Bruce if he comes back again. Bruce yells defiantly that he'll come back every day if he has to. Similarly, Harvey Dent has discharged himself from hospital despite the fact that Bane's attack left him with his brain literally split in two, and it hasn't fully healed. He shouldn't be out of bed, but he has left with no indication of where he's gone. Likewise, Eddie Nygma won't answer his door, even when Bruce tries to tempt him with a riddle, the answer to which is an ass. Well, that's one way to apologise, I guess. We also see that his mother and former Mayor Gordon are getting closer, and Joe Chill, the man who killed his father, has stopped taking visitors in prison. Essentially, Batman's personal life is falling apart. This is starkly contrasted by how the city has embraced Batman ever since he uncovered the truth about the monsters that control their society. There are even street vendors selling unofficial merchandise cashing in on his name. And in a move that reminds me of Christ, overturning the moneylenders' tables at the temple, he smashes up one of the merchants' stands in anger. Batman wasn't supposed to be an inspiration to others, he was meant to be a means to an end. And yet he has inspired people in good ways, and some in bad ways. Case in point, the new villain Poison Ivy. She quickly establishes her presence, taking over a building and essentially terraforming it and unleashing mutagenic spores. Anyone that breathes them in will essentially become an undead plant zombie. Now, initially I found myself feeling like writer Scott Snyder was rehashing his take on Mr. Freeze, whose cryogenic underlings sought immortality and essentially got it by being turned into beasts. But Alfred's incredulous reaction, saying that there were no detectable life signs coming from them, made something click in my head. They are not dead. They are anti-life. The concept of anti-life originates in the work of Jack Kirby, creator of Darkseid. Kirby argued that life was choice and individuality. Anti-life is conformity, following orders and essentially becoming a drone. This was informed by his experience as a soldier in World War II. Darkseid has traditionally sought the anti-life equation, a calculation that will enable him to control all life, remove all choice and individuality to bring order to the universe. And the absolute universe is essentially Darkseid's universe. It is permeated with his essence, the very particles skew towards negativity and evil, and as such, it would make sense that the villains, the people that he puts in power, demand control. Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy turn the citizens into savage drones. Bane is a slave to the Joker, forced to do his bidding. And it's not just because Scott Snyder is a horror writer, and what's more horrific than not being able to control yourself? It's basically the whole universe in a nutshell. It's built on Kirby's take on authoritarianism. With the police ordered to back off, Batman arrives on the scene. He arms himself with some chainsaws and cuts through the dense plants. He goes in because a squad of elite GCPD officers were sent in to investigate what's going on, and they have vanished. It's interesting to note that Mayor Hamilton Hill has declared the area a biohazard and refuses to let anyone go near, considering that Hill is one of the Joker's flunkies. Clearly, Joker didn't pass on the details of what Ivy was up to, and it cost some of those officers their lives. There is only one survivor, Barbara Gordon, who is keen to work with Batman, but he promptly kicks her to safety. As for who this new version of Poison Ivy is, she is Dr. Pamela Isley, and Alfred notes that she has a lot of letters after her name, indicating that she has many qualifications. She grew up outside of Gotham in Kane County, deep in the woods, and she notes that when she was 10, she and her mother visited the Hart Building at the city's centre, subtle, which helped carry the breeze through the city's 5 boroughs. In the present day, this is the building she has taken over, essentially Gotham's lungs. Her mother was deathly ill with what sounds like brain cancer. Ivy mentions her mother's body kept producing too much of herself in her head, and that is what motivates Pamela into becoming a doctor. She initially starts looking into merging human and plant DNA, similar to the mainline Poison Ivy, to help people heal through exposure to sunlight. But there's a big difference. The mainline Ivy was the victim of her mentor, Jason Woodrue, who had an inappropriate relationship with her and then left her for dead after experimenting on her. Victimhood and abuse from someone that was supposed to love and cherish her is a big part of her story. This is where the Absolute version diverts. She gets funding for her research and tours with her discoveries. But upon further thought, she decides that her procedures haven't gone far enough. Her experiments don't just focus on plants. She looks at merging together all forms of life: animal, plant, fungus, bacteria, and so on. The 6 kingdoms of life, which I had never heard of before today. Her sponsors were delighted with her work, but their ambitions were aligned with how they could profit from her. They wanted to take each development's treatment for a specific disease and end it there, rather than allow her to develop a catch-all cure for every ailment. But Ivy was dissatisfied with this limitation and planned to take her research elsewhere. On the night she gathered up her things, she was locked in her lab, exposed to her treatment, and then set on fire. She thought that she would die, but the end result was exactly what she wanted. She was no longer human, she was a combination of all 6 biological kingdoms, and that is how she became Poison Ivy. And this is what really sets her apart. Batman tries to reason with her, but she won't listen. So he uses violence, setting her on fire. Don't worry, Alfred assured him she didn't have any vital signs. As far as he could tell, she wasn't alive. But that didn't really do anything. Ivy regrew several times over, and they're each slightly different, but still recognisably her. However, those aren't the real Pamela Isley, they're essentially clones. The real Pamela Isley is far more hideous looking, with a body that looks like it crawled out of Dr. Frankenstein's lab, pieced together from different types of organisms, with eyeballs all over the place. This is a much more hideous take on the character than I expected to see. She looks a bit like something you'd see in Resident Evil, and she welcomes Batman. Meanwhile, in the issue's epilogue, Batman's mother Martha contacts some old friends, the Court of Owls. Now, these are unlikely to be the secretive elites running the city, given that we already know who that is. It's the Joker. But how they differ and Martha's connection to them remains to be seen. Similarly, Batman's fate remains up in the air. And I have to think back to when he was last greeted by Mr. Freeze and how he almost died. I guess we'll find out what's going to happen in the next issue. Absolute Batman number 17 is available now from all good comic shops. I would encourage you to research your local comic shop, and if you don't have one, I'm certain there are dozens of good stores nearby that would be happy to mail you your comics. If you're opposed to the idea of cluttering up your home with comic books, then you can get this one digitally from places like Amazon as well as Neon Ishiban. Personally, I prefer physical comics, but I do like the convenience of having thousands of comic books accessible from my phone. But you do what works best for you. For those that care about my physical collection, well, the Batman event at Gosh Comics came and went, and I'll be frank, there were massive casualties. So many wallets were felled by this seemingly endless collection of amazing Batman memorabilia, and you know what? They were pretty reasonably priced, and I think that's how they lured us in. If you haven't seen it already, I did a brief video about the event and some of the incredible bargains I picked up, including the first appearance of Mr. Freeze. Oh my god, I can't believe I have that now! So yeah, go watch that if you'd like to hear more. Next time. I'll be back next week with 2 videos. Up first we have Absolute Wonder Woman 17, where Diana comes face to face with Veronica Cale's all-new, all-female Suicide Squad. And after that I'll be talking about Absolute Martian Manhunter number 9, where the Martian finds himself in the clutches of the mysterious agency, and Agent Jones plunges the depths of despair. Hope to see you then.